The shotgun blast echoed through the cornfields like God's own thunder, shattering the fragile peace of Willow Creek, Iowa. Andrew's heart slammed against his ribs as he bolted from the back door. The metallic tang of blood, his father's, from a split knuckle in the fray, clinging to the humid night air. "You're no son of mine." Joseph's roar chased him into the darkness. But it was the unspoken plea in his brother's eyes that carved the deepest scar. That was 25 years ago, the night Andrew fled his family's crumbling empire of secrets, leaving behind a trail of shattered glass and unspoken sins. Now, as he steered his rented Chevy Impala down the cracked asphalt of County Road 12, the flatlands stretching out like an unhealed wound, Andrew wondered if some ghosts were meant to stay buried. But the letter, creased and yellowed, slipped under his apartment door in Chicago by an anonymous hand, had dragged him back. They lied about Dad. Come home before it's too late. Andrew killed the engine outside the Old Victorian on Elm Street, the house looming like a sentinel against the bruised November sky. Willow Creek hadn't changed much. Same sagging porches, same rusted pickups parked nose to tail, same Bible-thumping whispers slithering through the diner on Main. But Andrew had. At 42, he was no longer the scrawny kid with dreams bigger than the horizon. He was a tenured professor of American Lit at Northwestern, author of a memoir that had skimmed the edges of bestseller lists, all veiled confessions about running from roots that choked like kudzu. He gripped the steering wheel, knuckles whitening. The letter burned in his pocket, its elegant script a ghost from the past. Your father wasn't the man they said. Ask about the summer of '78. The truth will set you free or destroy us all. No signature, but the handwriting. It tugged at something primal, like a half-remembered lullaby. Stepping out, the chill wind whipped his wool overcoat around his legs, carrying the faint rot of harvested fields. He hadn't called ahead. No point in warnings. Families like his thrived on ambushes. The front door creaked open before he could knock, and there stood Joseph, taller now, broader, his once boyish face etched with lines that spoke of unpaid bills and unfulfilled promises. 40. Joseph's hair was threaded with silver. His flannel shirt stretched tight over a belly softened by too many beers at the VFW. Andrew. Joseph's voice was gravel, laced with the whiskey he'd probably nursed since dawn. His eyes, the same stormy blue as their father's, flicked over Andrew like he was appraising livestock. Heard you were comin' back. Small towns got long memories. Andrew forced a smile, the kind he'd perfected in faculty lounges, polite, impenetrable. Missed the family charm, Joe. And you, Joseph snorted, stepping aside with the reluctance of a man guarding a vault. Inside, the house smelled of lemon pledge and regret, the same floral wallpaper peeling at the edges like old skin. Their mother, Evelyn, hovered in the kitchen doorway, her apron dusted with flour, eyes red-rimmed from crying or chopping onions, hard to tell. At 68, she was a wisp of the iron-willed woman who'd once ruled these rooms with a wooden spoon and scripture quotes. My prodigal, she whispered, crossing the linoleum to pull him into a hug that felt like brittle twigs. Her perfume, Chanel No. 5, the one extravagance from her waitress days, clung to him like accusation. God brought you home. Andrew stiffened. The old reflex. God had been their family's favorite weapon, wielded against his unnatural urges that humid night. But he hugged her back, murmuring platitudes about traffic and the drive. Joseph watched from the armchair, nursing a tumbler, his silence louder than any sermon. Dinner was a minefield of small talk and loaded glances. Roast chicken, mashed potatoes drowned in gravy, green beans from Evelyn's summer cans, comfort food that now tasted like ash. Joseph dominated the conversation, regaling them with tales of the feed store's latest scandals, the high school football team's championship drought. Andrew nodded along, his mind snagging on the empty chair at the head of the table, where their father, Harlan, had once carved the turkey with hands that could gentle a spooked colt or crack a belt across a disobedient back. Harlan had died 5 years ago, heart attack in the South 40, felled like an oak in a storm. The funeral had been a blur. Andrew hadn't come. Too raw. Too soon after his own coming-out implosion at 25, when the family feud had erupted like a fault line. But now, with the letter's hook buried deep, questions festered. So, Ma, Andrew ventured, pushing peas around his plate. That letter you sent. About Dad. Evelyn's fork clattered. Joseph's jaw tightened, his drink pausing mid-sip. What letter? She echoed, voice pitching high. Andrew pulled it from his pocket, unfolding it with deliberate care. The paper trembled in the lamplight, ink stark against the cream. Evelyn's eyes widened, then narrowed to slits. I didn't write that. Bullshit, Joseph growled, leaning forward. You think some ghost penned it? Who's it from? Andy? Your city friends playing pranks. Andrew met his brother's gaze, the old fire sparking. It's about the summer of 78. Dad's secret. Whatever it is, it's why I'm here. The room went still, save for the tick of the mantel clock. Evelyn's hands twisted in her lap, knuckles bone-white. Joseph slammed his glass down, splashing amber across the tablecloth. You left us to rot, chased your fairy tales to the big city, and now you waltz back digging up graves? Dad's dead. Let him rest. But Andrew saw it then, the flicker in Joseph's eyes, not just anger, but fear. The same look he'd worn that night Andrew confessed his love for Tommy Riley behind the grain silo, the kiss that had sealed his exile. I'm not digging for sport, Joe. This family's built on lies. I know that better than anyone. Evelyn rose abruptly, plates clattering as she cleared the table with mechanical efficiency. Bedtime, she announced, voice brittle as autumn leaves. Guest rooms aired out. Andrew. We'll talk in the morning. Like civilized folk. Civilized. The word hung like smoke. Upstairs. The guest room was a time capsule, faded baseball posters, a twin bed with a chenille spread, the window overlooking the backyard where Andrew had once built forts from hay bales. He stripped down to boxers, the floorboards groaning under his weight, and slid under the covers. Sleep evaded him, chased by memories. Harlan's rough hugs after Little League wins, the way his laugh boomed like thunder over the dinner table, the sudden silences when Andrew's voice cracked too high during puberty. Down the hall, a door creaked. Footsteps, soft and deliberate. Andrew sat up, pulse racing, as a shadow fell across his threshold. Joseph, silhouetted in the moonlight, a bottle dangling from one hand. Can't sleep either. Ha! Joseph muttered, slipping inside without invitation. He perched on the bed's edge, the mattress dipping under his weight. Close, Andrew smelled the bourbon on his breath, mingled with the earth of the fields, loam and regret. What happened that summer, Joe? Andrew whispered, the words a bridge or a bomb. Joseph took a long pull from the bottle, Adam's apple bobbing. You were 10. Away at Bible camp. Dad. He changed. Came back from a trip to Des Moines with this look. Like he'd seen the devil and liked it. Ma found letters. Burned 'em in the sink. Said it was nothin'. Just old army buddies writin' nonsense. Andrew's breath caught. Letters. The pieces clicked. Jagged and sharp. He was seeing someone. A man. Joseph's laugh was bitter. Hollow. Don't go Hollywood on me, Andy. Dad was straight as a fence post. Fought in Nam. Built this town with his bare hands. Whatever it was, it's buried with him. But the lie hung heavy, and as Joseph stood to leave, his hand brushed Andrew's shoulder, lingering a beat too long, warm through the thin sheet. Andrew's skin prickled, an old ache stirring, one he'd buried deeper than any family secret. Brothers, bound by blood and silence. But what if the lines had blurred long ago? In stolen glances and unspoken confessions? The next morning dawned gray and unforgiving, frost glazing the windows like tears frozen midfall. Andrew found Evelyn in the kitchen, kneading dough with furious rhythm, her back a wall of floral cotton. "Ma," he said softly, pouring coffee from the percolator. "Tell me about the letters." She didn't turn, shoulders hunching. "Ancient history, son. Your father's sins died with him." Sins? The word stung, laced with the venom she'd spat at him all those years ago. "Like mine," Evelyn whirled, flour dusting her cheeks like war paint. "You chose your path, ran off to that den of iniquity, parading your deviance like a badge. Harlan was a good man. Provided for us. Loved us." Andrew set his mug down, steam curling like ghosts. "Love doesn't hide. It doesn't burn evidence." He stepped closer, voice dropping. "Who was he, Ma?" "The man in Des Moines." Her eyes darted to the window, where Joseph was hitching the old John Deere to the trailer, his silhouette stark against the barren fields. "A mistake," she hissed. "A weakness from the war. Shell shock, they called it. Your father came home broken, sought comfort where he shouldn't. But he repented. Married me. Gave you boy's life." The confession cracked open something raw, a chasm of what-ifs. Andrew had spent decades building walls against his family's rejection, finding solace in Chicago's vibrant gay scene. Lovers who came and went like seasons, none rooting deep enough to fill the void. But hearing this, Harlan, the pillar of righteousness, had been like him, gay, or at least questioning, in a world that crushed such truths under boot heels. "Why hide it?" Andrew pressed, heart pounding. "From us? From the town." Evelyn's laugh was a sob. "Because this is Willow Creek, Andrew. Folks here'd string him up, call him an abomination. I saved him. Saved us. You think your little rebellion was bad? Try being the wife to a man who dreams of another man's touch." The words landed like punches, Evelyn's face crumpling as she sank into a chair. Andrew knelt beside her, hand on her knee, the first tender touch in decades. "I'm sorry," he murmured. "For leaving. For not seeing your pain." She clutched his hand, calluses rough against his smooth professor's palm. "You're back now. That's grace." But grace was a fragile thing, and as Joseph stomped in, boots shedding mud, Andrew saw the storm brewing in his brother's eyes. "Overheard enough?" Joseph snarled, slamming his hat on the counter. You come home to play detective, tear open old wounds? Dad's rollin' in his grave. Or maybe he's finally free. Andrew shot back, rising to meet him. The brothers stood toe-to-toe, inches apart, the air crackling with the electricity of unresolved history. Joseph's breath was hot on Andrew's face, his chest heaving, and for a heartbeat, Andrew glimpsed the boy he'd idolized, the one who'd covered for him with their parents, who'd shared secrets under the covers during thunderstorms. Then Joseph shoved him hard. Get out. Both of you, keepin' this poison alive. Evelyn gasped, but Andrew held his ground, the shove igniting something feral. I'm not running this time, Joe. Not until you face it with me. The standoff stretched, taut as a bowstring, until Joseph deflated, shoulders slumping. Fine. But not here. Meet me at the old mill tonight. After Ma's asleep, as Joseph stormed out, Andrew turned to Evelyn, her face a mask of quiet terror. What else? Ma, what's the rest? She hesitated, then whispered, the man's still alive. Lives in town now. Name's Elias. Retired teacher. But if you stir this pot, it'll boil over on all of us. Andrew nodded, the name searing into his mind like a brand. Elias. The ghost with a pulse. That afternoon, while Evelyn napped, Andrew slipped into Harlan's study, a shrine of dusty ledgers and faded photos. Rifling through drawers, he found it, a hidden compartment behind the bookcase, yielding a single photograph. Yellowed edges, two men in army fatigues, arms slung around each other in a jungle clearing, grins wide and unguarded. Harlan, young and unscarred, and beside him, a lanky figure with kind eyes and a mop of curls, Elias. His father's secret lover. The truth Evelyn had torched to ash. Heart racing, Andrew pocketed the photo and drove into town, the Chevy's tires humming a dirge. Willow Creek's main drag was a relic. The feed store, the diner with its neon open sign flickering like a dying star, the library where Elias supposedly whiled away his days. Andrew parked and walked, collar up against the wind, drawing stares from locals who remembered the queer boy who'd shamed the Hayes name. The library was a squat brick building, shelves sagging under forgotten tomes. Elias was there, in the history section, a silver-haired man in his 70s, spectacles perched on a nose still sharp with youth. He looked up as Andrew approached, and recognition dawned slow, like sunrise over the plains. Harlan's boy, Elias said, voice soft as worn velvet. No surprise, just a quiet ache. The spitting image. Andrew slid the photo across the table, watching Elias's fingers tremble as they traced the faces. Tell me, Andrew said, voice steady despite the quake inside. Everything, Elias sighed, gesturing to a corner table. They sat, the library's hush wrapping around them like a confessional. Summer of 78, Elias began, eyes distant. Harlan came back from Nama Shadow. We'd been close, over there. Shared a foxhole, shared more when the nights got long. But home, it chews up men like us. He spoke in measured tones, painting a portrait of stolen weekends in Des Moines motels, love letters smuggled like contraband. Harlan, torn between duty and desire, proposing to Evelyn in a panic after one too close call, a neighbor spotting their truck at a roadside bar. The marriage a cage, gilded with children and community respect, but rusted with resentment. And the letters? Andrew asked, throat tight. Burned, as your mother said. But I kept copies. Sent one last year, anonymous, hoping. Well, hoping you'd come. Andrew leaned back, the weight of it crashing down. His father, not a monster, but a man monstrously trapped. Why now, after all this time? Elias's gaze softened, piercing. Because Joseph's drowning in it, son. The bottle, the anger, it's Harlan's ghost, wearing his skin. And you're the key. Or the knife. As Andrew left the library, the photo burning in his pocket, the sky had darkened to slate. He drove to the old mill on the river's edge, the rendezvous point with Joseph, a crumbling relic from the town's flower heyday, now home to raccoons and regrets. Joseph was already there, leaning against the rusted silo, a flask glinting in the twilight. You went to him, Joseph accused, eyes bloodshot. Elias. Digging up Dad's dirt. Andrew held out the photo. This isn't dirt, Joe. It's truth. Dad loved him. Like I love. Don't. Joseph cut him off, voice cracking. Don't say it. You're twisted. Always were. Running off to your parades and your men, leaving me to carry the load. The words sliced deep, but Andrew stepped closer, the river's murmur underscoring the tension. You carried it alone because I let you. But I'm here now. And Dad's secret? It's ours too. It explains everything, the way he looked at us, like he was sorry for the world he gave. Joseph snatched the photo, staring at it with a hunger that bordered on pain. He knew about you, he whispered finally. That night you left. Told me after, in the barn. Said you were brave, fasten what he couldn't. Then he cried, Andy. First time I saw it. The admission hung between them, a bridge of shared grief. Andrew reached out, hand on Joseph's arm, and this time, Joseph didn't pull away. The touch lingered, charged with the weight of years unspoken, brotherly love twisted by isolation, by the town's judgmental glare that had painted Andrew's queerness as contagion. I missed you, Andrew said, voice rough. Every damn day. Joseph's eyes met his, glistening. Missed you too, little brother. But this, exposing it, it'll kill Ma. Ruin the town. Not if we do it right, Andrew replied, pulling him into a hug. Joseph's body was solid, familiar, the embrace fierce and unyielding. For the first time in 25 years, the walls between them cracked, letting in light. But as they stood there, silhouetted against the mill's decay, a figure watched from the treeline. Evelyn, tears streaming, the shotgun from that fateful night cradled in her arms. The secret's unraveling had begun, and with it, the family's fragile peace teetered on the brink. The days blurred into a tense détente. The haze housed a pressure cooker with the lid rattling loose. Andrew stayed, ostensibly to help with the harvest's end, baling the last of the silage, mending fences that sagged like old men, but really, to weave himself back into the fabric of their lives, thread by careful thread. Mornings, he and Evelyn shared coffee on the sun porch, her stories unfolding like pressed flowers. Harlan's courtship, all drive-in movies and stolen kisses, the war letters that came home redacted, heartsick, the quiet nights when she'd wake to him staring at the ceiling, lost in memories he wouldn't share. You're stronger than he was, she admitted one dawn. as mist rose from the fields like spirits ascending. You owned your truth, Harlan. He just carried it. Andrew squeezed her hand, the gesture small but seismic. You carried it too, Ma. For all of us. Thank you. Afternoons were Joseph's domain. Long hours in the tractor's cab. Andrew riding shotgun, the rumble of the engine drowning out the awkward silences at first. But talk came, halting then flooding. Joseph's failed marriage to Sarah, the one the town had pinned all hopes on, ending in divorce papers and a custody battle over a son who now lived with her in Des Moines. Kids 8, Joseph said, wiping sweat from his brow. Thinks his old man's a hero. What if he finds out about Grandpa's thing? Then you tell him heroes are human, Andrew replied, clapping his shoulder. Flaws and all. Evenings brought Elias, slipping in under cover of dusk like a character from one of Andrew's novels. The four of them, Evelyn included, after a tearful confrontation where she lowered the shotgun and raised her voice instead, gathered in the study, piecing together the mosaic of Harlan's life. Elias brought his own box of mementos, dog-eared paperbacks with inscriptions in Harlan's scrawl, a faded handkerchief monogrammed with intertwined initials, cassette tapes of Merle Haggard songs they'd played on a boombox in stolen hours. He loved country music, Elias said, voice wistful, as they listened to Mama Tried crackle through the old player. Said it was the sound of home, even when home felt like a lie. Evelyn watched, arms crossed, her expression a war of resentment and reluctant peace. You took pieces of him I never had, she said one night, direct as a slap. But you gave him joy. I see that now. The admission cracked the room open. And in that vulnerability, something shifted. Laughter crept in. Stories of Harlan's terrible two-step. Elias's botched attempt at frying chicken. The time they'd nearly been caught by a state trooper on I-80. Andrew soaked it in. The romance of it all bittersweet. His father's love, hidden but fierce, a quiet rebellion against the era's iron fists. Yet beneath the mending, undercurrents swirled. Joseph's touches lingered, a hand on Andrew's back guiding him through a door, fingers brushing as they passed tools in the barn. Andrew felt it, the pull, not quite fraternal, born of isolation and the town's suffocating heteronormativity. In Chicago, he dated freely, artists with paint-stained hands, lawyers with sharp suits, a barista named Marco who'd almost made him believe in forever. But none ignited like this forbidden spark, the danger of it intoxicating. One night, after Elias had gone and Evelyn retired early with a migraine, Joseph cornered Andrew in the hallway. Moonlight slanted through the lace curtains, casting Joseph's face in silver and shadow. This thing with Dad, Joseph murmured, close enough that Andrew could count the whiskers on his jaw. It's changin' me, making me question everything. Andrew's pulse thrummed, the air thick with unsaid words. Like what? Joseph's hand cupped Andrew's neck, thumb tracing the pulse point. Like why I never married again. Why Sarah said I was cold, distant. Like maybe I've been waitin' for the wrong kind of love. The confession hung, electric. Andrew leaned in, their foreheads touching, breaths mingling. Joe, we're brothers. Step-brothers, Joseph interrupted, voice husky. Ma married Dad when I was 5. You came later. Blood's one thing. This. He closed the gap, lips brushing Andrew's in a kiss that was tentative, then desperate, years of repression pouring out in salt and whiskey. Andrew froze, then melted, hands fisting Joseph's shirt as the kiss deepened. It was wrong, taboo in the Bible Belt's rigid code, but in that moment, it felt like salvation, a reclaiming of the intimacy the family feud had stolen. They stumbled into Andrew's room, door clicking shut, bodies colliding with the urgency of the long denied. Clothes shed in a frenzy, flannel and wool pooling on the floor. Joseph's body was maps of labor scars from barbed wire, calluses like Braille telling tales of endurance. Andrew traced them with lips and fingers, worshipful, as Joseph gasped his name like a prayer. They moved together, slow at first, exploratory, then building to a rhythm that echoed the storm outside, rain lashing the windows, thunder rumbling approval. After, tangled in sheets damp with sweat, Joseph traced patterns on Andrew's chest. "This doesn't change who we are," he whispered. "Just adds to it." Andrew nodded, heart full but shadowed. "As long as it's real," but reality intruded with dawn's light. Evelyn, up for her devotions, paused outside the door, hearing murmurs she couldn't unhear. Her hand trembled on the knob, then fell away. Secrets upon secrets, the house groaned under the weight. The town began to whisper. Willow Creek was a tinderbox, and Elias's visits were dry grass. Old Mrs. Hargrove spotted his truck one evening, tongues wagging by morning. "Hayes boy's back, stirring up that queer nonsense." And with the pansy teacher, at the diner, over coffee and pie, Joseph faced the glares, his flask calling louder each day. Andrew, undeterred, pushed forward. "We tell them," he said over breakfast. The photo spread like a declaration. A family meeting. Church hall. "Lay it out." Evelyn blanched. "They'll crucify us." Joseph, hungover and hollow-eyed, nodded grimly. "Better than lettin' it fester." Elias agreed, his calm an anchor. "Harlan wanted this. For you boys." The meeting was set for Sunday. After services, a neutral ground in the community center's folding chairs. Invites went out via phone tree, the town's curiosity a serpent coiling tight. Andrew spent the week preparing, scripting words that balanced truth with mercy. Harlan's love for Elias as a testament to humanity's spectrum, not shame. But betrayal brewed in the shadows. Sarah, Joseph's ex, had wind of the scandal from a mutual friend. Bitter from the divorce, Joseph's emotional distance, his unexplained absences, she saw opportunity. Late Friday, she drove to the house, little Tommy in tow, her face a mask of concern. "Joe," she said, pulling him aside on the porch while Andrew helped Evelyn with supper. "Folks are talking about you and Andrew. And that teacher. Tommy heard at school kids saying his uncles are. You know." Joseph's face drained of color. "It's lies. Family stuff." Sarah's eyes narrowed, sharp as shears. "Then why's Andrew kissin' you in the barn?" "Saw it myself, drivin' by. If you go public with this filth, I'll take Tommy permanent. Courts hate perverts." The threat landed like a gut punch. Joseph staggered back, the world tilting. Betrayal, from the woman he'd once vowed to honor, wielding their son as a weapon. He didn't tell Andrew, not yet. Instead, he drowned it in the flask, the mill becoming his confessional, where he raged at the river until voice hoarse. Saturday night, Andrew found him there, slumped against the silo, eyes wild. "Sarah knows," Joseph slurred. "Flask empty. Gonna take the kid. All cause of this. Us." Andrew pulled him up, arms strong. "We'll fight it. Together." But Joseph shoved him away, fury erupting. "You started this. Comin' back. Pokin' the bear. Dad's dead cause of secrets like yours. And now, you're dragging me down too." The words were knives, twisting deep. Andrew reeled, the romance of their reconnection curdling to poison. "I came for truth, Joe. For us. If you can't see that, get out," Joseph roared, fist connecting with the silo's metal in a clang that echoed his pain. Blood welled from split knuckles, mirroring that night 25 years gone. "Run again, fairy boy. Leave me to clean up." Andrew stood frozen, rain starting to fall, mixing with the tears he hadn't shed in years. The hook of home had snagged him, but now it tore flesh. He turned, walking into the downpour, the photo sodden in his pocket, a relic of love's cost. Back at the house, Evelyn waited, shotgun in lap, face etched with foreboding. "He's scared, son. Like Harlan was." Andrew sank beside her, the weight crushing. "So am I, Ma." The storm raged through the night, lightning illuminating the fields like accusations. By morning, the town buzzed. Sarah's whispers had spread, flyers anonymously tacked to telephone poles. Hayes family, hiding Sodom's sins? The meeting loomed, a powder keg with a lit fuse. Elias called, voice steady. "We go on." For Harlan, Joseph didn't show for breakfast, his truck gone. Andrew dressed in his best, a crisp button-down, slacks that screamed city sophistication, and drove to the hall alone, Evelyn in the passenger seat, hands clasped in prayer. The parking lot overflowed, pickups and sedans crammed cheek to jowl. Inside, the air hummed with judgment. Farmers in overalls, church ladies fanning themselves with bulletins, kids fidgeting in pews. Sarah sat front row, Tommy on her lap, her smile ablade. Pastor Wilkins, a bull of a man with a voice like brimstone, introduced them. "The Hayes family has a testimony. Let's hear it with open hearts." Andrew stepped to the podium, throat dry, Evelyn and Elias flanking him. Joseph was absent, a void that ached. "Thank you for coming," he began, voice steadying. "This is about love. The kind our town preaches, but doesn't always practice." He unfolded the tale. Harlan's war, his bond with Elias, the marriage to Evelyn as anchor and chain. Gasps rippled, murmurs swelling to waves. He spoke of his own exile, the feud that fractured them, and now, the mending. "But secrets fester," he continued, eyes scanning faces. "They twist sons against fathers, brothers against brothers. Dad hid to protect us. But protection became prison." Sarah stood then, voice shrill. "Lies. Joseph's bein' coerced. Andrew's the poison, seducin' his own kin." The room erupted, shouts clashing. Evelyn gasped, clutching Andrew's arm. In the chaos, the door banged open. Joseph, disheveled, eyes blazing. He pushed through, mounting the stage, grabbing the mic. "Enough!" he bellowed, voice cracking the din. Blood crusted his knuckles, flask abandoned. "Andrew's right. Dad loved Elias. And me. I love Andrew. Not just as family. More. The confession detonated, shock rippling outward. Sarah shrieked, Tommy burying his face. But Joseph pressed on, tears streaming. I ain't proud. Confused as hell. But hidin' it, that's killed more than truth ever could. Andrew stared, heart soaring and shattering. Joseph's hand found his grip iron. The brothers, step, blood, lovers united in the glare. Then, the unthinkable. A bottle sailed from the back, shattering at their feet. Abominations, someone yelled. Fists flew, chairs toppling in the melee. Elias shielded Evelyn as blows landed, the town's hypocrisy erupting in violence. Andrew pulled Joseph down, covering him, blood warm on his cheek from a glancing hit. We have to go, he urged. But Joseph resisted, eyes fierce. No. This ends now. In the fray, Pastor Wilkins bellowed for order, but it was little Tommy, slipping from Sarah's grasp, who changed the tide. The boy toddled on stage, wrapping arms around Joseph's leg. Daddy, don't fight. The innocence pierced the rage. Fists dropped, shouts fading to sobs. Sarah rushed forward, scooping Tommy, but her face crumpled. Not triumph, but regret. Joe. I'm sorry. The hall fell silent, breaths ragged. Andrew rose, helping Joseph up, their hands clasped. This is us, he said to the room. Flawed, human, but family. Not applause, but nods tentative, from the edges. Mrs. Hargrove dabbed her eyes. A farmer muttered, Harlan was a good man. The dam broke, not in flood, but trickle questions, confessions of their own hidden pains. Outside, as sirens wailed distant, someone's call to the sheriff. The haze gathered on the steps. Evelyn embraced Elias, a gesture small as a mustard seed. Welcome home, she whispered. Joseph leaned into Andrew, forehead to forehead. Worth it. Andrew kissed him, soft and sure. Every scar, but betrayal's shadow lingered. Sarah approached, Tommy yawning in her arms. We'll talk custody. Real talk. No more games. Joseph nodded, relief flooding. Deal. As they drove home, the sunset bled orange across the fields, a canvas of renewal. The secret, exposed after 25 years, hadn't destroyed them. It had remade. Yet in the rear view, Andrew glimpsed a figure, Harlan's ghost, smiling faint, finally free. Winter clamped down on Willow Creek like a vice. Snow drifts piling against the Victorian's eaves, turning the world to muffled white. The brawl at the meeting had faded to legend, whispers in the co-op. Sermons softened to parables of forgiveness, but its aftershocks rippled through the haze lives like fault lines after a quake. Andrew extended his sabbatical, trading Chicago's L trains for the crunch of boots on fresh powder, committing to the rebuild. Joseph threw himself into therapy sessions via Zoom with a counselor from Iowa City, unpacking decades of repressed longing with the doggedness of a man tilling frozen soil. Their relationship, that fragile bloom in forbidden ground, deepened in stolen intimacies. Mornings tangled in Joseph's bed, the big king in the master suite where Harlan's snores once rattled the rafters. Evenings by the fireplace, Andrew reading aloud from Walt Whitman while Joseph sketched farm plans on napkins, his free hand tracing lazy circles on Andrew's thigh. It was romance laced with grit, lube and laughter, poetry and plow grease, a love that felt defiantly American, born of heartland stoicism and the vastness of second chances. Evelyn adapted with cautious grace, knitting scarves in colors Andrew never thought she'd choose, vibrant blues and greens, nods to the city sparkle she'd once scorned. She and Elias took to weekly teas at the diner, their conversations a slow thaw, shared recipes, war stories, the quiet ache of loving a ghost. "He was my North Star," Elias confided one afternoon, as Andrew eavesdropped from the next booth. "Even when the sky was overcast, but humaneness demanded more than hearth and home. The exposure had cracked the town's facade, unleashing a cascade of confessions. Old Mr. Delaney, the hardware store owner, admitted to a lifetime of celibacy after losing his partner to AIDS in the 80s, silenced by Reagan-era stigma. The librarian's widow revealed her own bisexuality, long buried under widow's weeds. Andrew, ever the professor, organized a reading group at the library, Out of the Closet, Queer Voices in American Lit, starting with James Baldwin and arcing to modern memoirs. Joseph attended the first session, fidgeting in the back row, but stayed, his presence a quiet revolution. Yet conflict simmered. Sarah, true to her word, filed for full custody, citing Joseph's unstable lifestyle in court papers leaked to the local rag. The headline screamed, "Hayes heir in homosexual scandal. Fit parent?" Willow Creek's progressive veneer flaked, revealing the rust beneath, protests outside the courthouse, Bible verses scrawled on the family's mailbox. Joseph unraveled under the strain. Nights, he'd pace the kitchen, flask replaced by black coffee, muttering about failure. "Tommy needs a dad. Not a punchline," he'd say. "I's hollow." Andrew would pull him close, murmuring assurances, but the doubt gnawed. Was their love a luxury Joseph's son couldn't afford? One blizzard-lashed evening, as wind howled like banshees, the axe fell. The judge, a stern woman from Cedar Rapids with a reputation for fairness, denied Sarah's motion, citing lack of evidence beyond rumors. But the cost was custody weekends only, supervised at first, with Joseph mandated to family counseling. Victory tasted like defeat, the supervision a leash on his heart. Joseph celebrated numbly, cracking a beer on the porch while snow swirled. Andrew joined him, bundled in scarves Evelyn had knit. "It's a start," Andrew said, clinking bottles. Joseph's laugh was hollow. "Start of what? Bein' the town queer?" Dad hid for a reason. Andrew set his beer down, turning Joseph's chin with gentle fingers. "He hid because he had to. We don't. That's the gift, the one he couldn't give." Their kiss was fierce, snowflakes melting on heated skin, a reaffirmation amid the freeze. But as they broke apart, Joseph's eyes darkened. "What if it's not enough? For Tommy? For us?" The question lingered, a specter. Spring unfurled tentative, mud sucking at tires, crocuses pushing through frost-heaved earth like hopeful fingers. Andrew's reading group swelled, drawing outcasts from neighboring farms, teens with rainbow pins hidden under Letterman jackets, elders with stories etched in wrinkles. Elias volunteered as moderator, his classroom poise channeling Harlan's unfulfilled dreams of teaching. Romance bloomed in the green-up. Joseph and Andrew's first real date, a picnic by the river where the mill stood sentinel, fried chicken from Evelyn's recipe and a bottle of Midwest Red. Joseph spread a blanket, nervous as a colt, pulling Andrew into a slow dance to an imaginary fiddle. Never done this, he admitted, steps awkward but earnest. Andrew grinned, guiding his hips. First of many, laughter echoed, but drama stalked. A letter arrived, anonymous again, but Sarah's looping script unmistakable. Keep pushing, and I'll tell the world about the brothers. Blood or not, is sick. The threat, baseless legally but venomous socially, struck at the taboo core. Joseph confronted her at the playground, Tommy swinging oblivious between them. Why, Sarah? After the judge. Because you broke me? She spat, eyes flashing. Chose your brother over family. Tommy deserves normal. Joseph's voice broke. Normal's a lie. I want him to know real love. Messy. True. She walked away, but the seed of doubt flowered into sabotage. Whispers turned to acts. Tires slashed on Joseph's truck. Sinner spray-painted on the barn. The family circled wagons. Elias moving in temporarily, his presence a bulwark. Andrew, drawing on his academic armor, penned an op-ed for the Des Moines Register. Coming home. One family's reckoning with queer legacy in the heartland. It went viral. Shares rippling across social media, drawing support from coastal allies and quiet emails from locals. Thank you for saying what I couldn't. But fame's glare intensified the storm. Reporters camped outside the Victorian, mics thrust like spears. One night, a rock through the window, glass shattering in the living room, shards glittering like accusations. Evelyn shrieked, Joseph lunging for the shotgun, Andrew pulling him back. Enough, Andrew yelled, pulse thundering. We fight smart. No more hiding, but no more baiting. Joseph nodded, but his eyes stormy, haunted, betrayed the toll. That night, in bed, he clung to Andrew like a lifeline, love-making tender, almost desperate. Don't leave, he whispered post-climax, voice muffled against Andrew's neck. Not again. Never, Andrew vowed, but sleep evaded, the house's creaks whispering warnings. Summer scorched in, fields golden under relentless sun. Tommy's visits became highlights, fishing at the creek, Joseph teaching him to bait hooks while Andrew read Where the Wild Things Are Under the Willow Tree. The boy, with Joseph's eyes and Sarah's curls, warmed to Andrew slowly, calling him Unca Andy with shy grins. You kiss Daddy? He asked once, blunt as children are. Andrew knelt, heart in throat. Yeah, buddy. Like how you love your teddy, special. Tommy nodded solemnly. Cool. Innocence's acceptance mended cracks. But betrayal's blade hovered. Sarah, emboldened by online trolls egging her anonymity, leaked evidence. Blurry photos from the barn kiss, posted to a local Facebook group. The backlash was biblical, boycotts at the feed store, Joseph's contracts drying up, Evelyn's church ladies turning cold shoulders. Joseph snapped. One sweltering afternoon, he drove to Sarah's duplex, pounding the door until she opened, Tommy peeking from behind her legs. Take it down, he demanded, voice low thunder. You're poisoning him against me. Sarah's chin lifted defiantly. Truth hurts, Joe. You're not fit. Parading that incest like it's love. The word exploded, Joseph's fist clenching. It's not we're step. Close enough for the town, she sneered. And the courts. If I push. Tommy whimpered, and Joseph deflated, scooping the boy into a hug. Daddy loves you, champ. Always. As he left, Sarah's parting shot. Tell Andrew the feud's back on. He started it. He'll finish it alone. Back home, Joseph confessed over dinner, face ashen. Evelyn crossed herself. Elias poured wine with steady hands. Andrew reached for Joseph's hand across the table. We'll weather it. But Joseph pulled away, eyes glistening. I can't, Andy. Not with Tommy caught in the crossfire. Maybe. We pause. For him, the words gutted Andrew, sharper than any rock or slur. Pause? After everything. It's not forever, Joseph pleaded. Just till the heat dies. Andrew stood, chair scraping. Hiding again. Like Dad, he stormed out, driving aimlessly through the dusk. Radio crooning Johnny Cash's Hurt. The road curved to the mill, where it had all reignited. There, under stars pricking the velvet sky, he wept, for the boy he'd been, the man he loved, the family forever fractured. Elias found him hours later, thermos of coffee in hand. Hearts break to grow stronger, the old man said, sitting on the damp grass. Harlan and I, we had pauses too. Wars, wives. But the love, it waited. Andrew wiped his face. What if this time it doesn't? Elias smiled faint. Then you fight. Humanly, fall crept in, leaves turning to fire. Andrew threw himself into the reading group, now a support circle, Heartland Hearts. They dubbed it, drawing dozens, including Sarah's reluctant sister, who confessed her own queer curiosities. Joseph's distance grew. Visits to the house perfunctory, touches avoided. The romance dimmed to embers, but Andrew fanned them in solitude. Letters slipped under Joseph's door, poems echoing their river dance. One crimson-leaved afternoon, high drama peaked. A town hall, called by Pastor Wilkins in contrition, on healing divisions. The gym packed, air thick with sweat and suspicion. Andrew spoke first, voice steady. Love isn't a zero-sum. It's infinite, if we let it. Joseph, in the audience, rose unbidden. I've been a coward, he said, climbing the stage, eyes locked on Andrew. Hid behind paws, 'cause I was scared. But seeing you up here, fightin' for us all, that's the man I love. Gasps, then cheers, tentative, building. Sarah, in the third row, stood too, Tommy on hip. I was wrong, she called, voice wobbling. Hurt talking. For Tommy. Truce, Joseph nodded, tears carving tracks. Andrew pulled him into an embrace, the mic picking up their whispers. No more pauses. The hall erupted, not in violence, but embrace, hugs across aisles, stories shared. Outside, as dusk fell, the family gathered, Evelyn with Elias's arm around her waist, Sarah handing Tommy over with a tentative smile. Betrayal's sting faded to scar, the secret's exposure a catalyst for grace. Andrew kissed Joseph under the harvest moon. Romance rekindled, deeper for the trial. But humanity's arc bends slow. Whispers persisted, judgments lingered. Yet in Willow Creek's heart, seeds of change took root, human, flawed, enduring. Thanksgiving arrived like a prodigal itself, the air crisp with cider steam and the promise of uneasy peace. The Victorian brimmed with bodies. Evelyn's cornbread dressing bubbling in the oven. Elias carving the turkey with surgeon's precision. Sarah and Tommy arriving fashionably late with a pumpkin pie that tilted precariously. Joseph, sober 6 weeks strong, manned the grill for appetizers, his laughter booming as Tommy chased fireflies in the yard. Early ones, harbingers of the holiday's magic. Andrew watched from the kitchen window, a glass of Merlot in hand, the scene surreal. A year ago, this tableau would have been heresy. Now, teetered on normalcy, stitched from the threads of exposure and forgiveness. His op-ed had spawned a podcast series, Midwest Mended, where guests unpacked heartland queerness, drawing national ears, but locally, it armored them against the diehard's barbs. Yet romance's flame flickered with new shadows. Joseph's court-mandated counseling unearthed strata of pain. Not just the family feud, but Harlan's absenteeism, the way he'd bark orders while his eyes drifted to hidden drawers. Felt like I was competent with a ghost, Joseph confessed one night, post-lovemaking, his head on Andrew's chest. Now I know the ghost had a name. Elias. Andrew stroked his hair, the admission a bridge to deeper intimacy. You're not competing. You're here. Real. Their lovemaking evolved, less frantic, more exploratory. Lazy Sundays mapping each other's bodies with ice cubes and whispers. Joseph experimenting with vulnerability. Andrew surrendering control. It was romantic, yes, but laced with the dramatic tension of lives still unfolding. Joseph's feed store teetering on bankruptcy from boycotts. Andrew fielding job offers from liberal campuses tempting him east. Evelyn pulled Andrew aside pre-dinner, her eyes bright with uncharacteristic mischief. That podcast of yours. Got a call from the Des Moines Library. Want you for a lecture series. On queer history. Andrew blinked, touched. You listened, she huffed, adjusting her pearls. Every episode. Even the one with that drag queen from Omaha. Enlightening. The table groaned under platters. Turkey golden, yams candied with marshmallows, cranberry relish tart as truth. Tommy chattered about school, oblivious to the undercurrents, while Sarah, thawed by months of supervised playdates, passed the rolls with a smile that reached her eyes. To new beginnings, she toasted, glass raised. Joseph's foot nudged Andrew's under the table, a secret Morse code of affection. But as pie was served, drama intruded via the landline. Pastor Wilkins, voice grave, trouble brewin'. Joseph. Couple fellas from the county anti-whatever group. Picketin' the store tomorrow. Sayin' you're recruitin'. Joseph's fork paused midair. Recruitin'? For what? Better abs. Laughter tittered, but tension coiled. Andrew squeezed his knee. We face it. Together, the protest dawned gray. A dozen picketers with signs. God hates sodomites, and protect our kids, they chanted outside the feed store. Bullhorns blaring scripture, drawing gawkers like flies to manure. Joseph arrived early, Andrew at his side. Evelyn and Elias parking across the street with thermoses of coffee for the counter-protest. A handful of reading group allies, rainbow flags fluttering defiantly. The air crackled, faces pressed to plate glass. A burly man in overalls, old client, once spat at Joseph's feet. Traitor to your blood. Joseph straightened, voice amplified by the store's PA. Blood's thicker than hate. Dale. You bought seed from my dad for 30 years. He was one of us, flawed, but good. This, he gestured to Andrew, hand clasped. This is good too. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. The picketers faltered, chants fracturing. Then, a voice from the allies, Mrs. Hargrove, 80 if a day, hobbling forward on her cane. My nephew was like you boys. Lost him to the streets 'cause we shut him out. Shame on us. The admission dominoed, another farmer nodding, a mom with a toddler whispering agreement. The line thinned, signs drooping, until only the hardliners remained, their bluster hollow. Joseph flipped the store sign to open, and customers trickled in. Not all, but enough. A quiet win, human scale. That night, romance reasserted in the afterglow. Joseph and Andrew celebrated in the hayloft, blankets spread amid bales fragrant with summer's ghost. Stars wheeled overhead through the slatted roof, their bodies a constellation of touch, Joseph's mouth tracing Andrew's collarbone, Andrew's nails raking Joseph's back in ecstasy. "You're my home," Joseph gasped, climax building like a crescendo. Andrew arched, whispering, "Always," but conflict's embers smoldered. Christmas loomed, and with it, Andrew's sabbatical end. Northwestern beckoned, tenure track secure but soul-sapping, committee meetings over authentic connection. Joseph sensed the pull, silences stretching like taffy. New Year's Eve, snow blanketing the fields in hush. They hosted a bonfire. Family, allies, even Sarah with Tommy, who launched fireworks with glee. As midnight tolled, Joseph pulled Andrew aside, breath fogging in the cold. "Don't go back. Not full-time. We could expand the store. Online sales, queer farm co-op or something. Your smarts, my hands." Andrew's heart swelled, but practicality nipped. "And your life? The town? Tommy? We build it here. Roots deep." The kiss sealed it, tentative promise. But betrayal lurked in omission. Joseph hadn't mentioned the loan shark circling the store, debts from lost clients mounting like drifts. January thawed to mud season, drama escalating when the shark, a Des Moines thug named Vic, with a ledger of favors, showed at the farm. Joseph met him in the barn, Andrew eavesdropping from the shadows. "Payments late. His interest's a bitch." Joseph's voice steady. "Got a plan?" "Podcast money comin'," Vic laughed. "Oily." "Podcasts? Fairy dust. Pay up, or I take the land." The threat chilled Andrew, who stepped out, feigning casual. "Everything good?" Vic eyed him, smirking. "Your boy's in deep. Watch your back, Professor." After Vic's truck rumbled away, Joseph confessed, face ashen. "Borrowed last year, after the boycotts. Thought I could flip it quick." Andrew's anger flared, hot and hurt. "Why not tell me? We're partners. In bed. Maybe," Joseph snapped, defensiveness cracking. "But this is my mess. My legacy." The fight spilled into the yard, voices rising over the lowing cattle. "Legacy? His pride. Joe, hiding debts like Dad hid love." Joseph recoiled, then advanced, pinning Andrew against the fence. "You think it's easy, loving you in this town? Every day's a tightrope." Andrew shoved back, tears pricking. "Then let me help. Or we're just playing house." Silence stretched, broken by Joseph's whisper, "I need you. All of you." Reconciliation came raw, in the cab of the old Ford, parked at the river's bend, hands fumbling with zippers, urgency born of fear. It was dramatic, emotional, sobs mingling with moans, forgiveness etched in skin. "We'll fix it," Andrew vowed. "After heads together. Together, Spring's renewal brought allies. Andrew's podcast partnered with a Queer AG initiative, funneling grants to Heartland Farms, Joseph's Store first beneficiary. Online platform launching with rainbow-branded seed packets. Grow your truth. Sarah. Seeing the stability. Eased supervision. Tommy sleeping over weekly. Waking to pancakes and Joseph's bedtime stories laced with subtle lessons. Love's like corn. Grows where it's planted. No matter the soil. Romance flourished in the greening. Weekend getaways to Iowa's hidden gay BNBS, where Joseph shed his flannel armor for silk sheets and candlelight dinners. Feels like a dream, he murmured one night, feeding Andrew strawberries by firelight. Dreams are work, Andrew replied, kissing juice from his lips. Ours is worth it, but high drama crested in June, heat wave shimmering the air. Vic returned. Not alone, 2 goons in tow, bats tapping palms. They cornered Joseph in the south field. Andrew hang nearby. Time's up. Hayes. Sign the deed. Joseph stood tall, pitchfork in hand. Over my dead body, Vic sneered. That can be arranged. Andrew burst from the tractor, phone dialing 911 midstride. Back off. Cops are comin'. The standoff teetered, bats raised. Joseph's grip white-knuckled, until sirens wailed distant, scattering the thugs like coyotes. Vic spat curses, peeling out in a cloud of dust. Joseph sagged against the fence, adrenaline crashing. Jesus, Andy. Andrew enveloped him, heart hammering. We're done hiding. Press charges. All of it. The aftermath was cathartic. Arrests, lawsuits, the community's quiet rally, donations pouring in. Support the Hayes bumper stickers sprouting like dandelions. Sarah testified on Joseph's behalf, her betrayal arc completing in redemption. He's a good dad. Flaws and all, summer waned, fields ripe for harvest. Andrew deferred his return, negotiating remote lectures, Chicago an occasional outpost, Willow Creek the hearth. Their love, once feud-fueled flight, now anchored them, dramatic in its trials, romantic in its tenacity, emotional in its depths. One golden evening, as combines hummed, Joseph proposed not with rings, but a plot of land cleared for a cabin. Our place, he said, kneeling in the dirt, Tommy giggling nearby with Elias and Evelyn watching. Marry me? Heartland style. Andrew pulled him up, kiss ceiling. Yes. Forever. Humanity's light pierced the drama. Flawed, fierce, familial. Autumn's palette painted Willow Creek in strokes of amber and rust. Harvest festivals lighting the nights with bonfires and fiddles, a veil over the scars of summer's strife. The cabin rose frame by frame, Joseph's calloused hands wielding hammer and nails, Andrew poring over blueprints between Zoom classes, Tommy helping with toy tools underfoot. It was their monument. Timber walls enclosing a future unburdened by 25 years' shadows, windows framed to catch the sunrise over fields Harlan once tilled in secret sorrow. Romance wove through the build like rebar in concrete. Stolen kisses amid sawdust clouds. Midnight planning sessions dissolving into slow, deliberate lovemaking on the half-finished floor. Stars winking approval through rafters. Joseph's confidence bloomed. He joined the podcast as co-host, his gravelly drawl grounding Andrew's eloquence in raw authenticity. Episodes on queer kinship drew tears and calls. A farmer from Nebraska outing himself live, a widow reconciling with her late husband's hidden life. Evelyn and Elias formalized their thaw with a commitment ceremony in the backyard. Simple vows under the old oak. Cake from the diner. Tommy scattering petals with gleeful abandon. Like a wedding, he declared, hugging legs indiscriminately. Sarah, now a tentative friend, captured photos on her phone. Her own dating app adventures confided over coffee. Turns out, labels are overrated, but climax brewed in the veins of progress. National eyes turned. A documentary crew from PBS, tipped by the podcast's buzz, descended on Willow Creek. Heartland Hidden, they titled it tentatively, interviews with the Hays, Elias's War Tales, town hall recreations with actors dodging scripted bottles. Andrew shown on camera, his professor's poise narrating the arc, flight from Feud, return to revelation, love's defiant bloom. Joseph, camera-shy at first, found his voice in a confessional scene by the mill. I betrayed him once, chose fear over family. But love pulls you back, makes you braver. The filming unearthed a final secret. Among Harlan's war effects, unearthed in the attic crawlspace, a letter from Elias, undelivered, penned in foxhole heat. If I don't make it, tell our boys someday. We were real. The discovery, filmed raw, became the doc's emotional core, Harlan's ghost narrating redemption. Yet conflict's serpent slithered in the edit bay. A producer, ambitious and edgy, pushed for sensationalism, amp the incest angle, blur lines for shock value. Taboo sells, he argued over production calls. Andrew balked, Joseph's face paling at the word. That's not us, Andrew insisted. It's stepbrothers, legal, loving. Humanize, don't exploit. The standoff escalated. Leaked teasers online twisted their story into clickbait. Brothers in bed. Iowa's forbidden love. Trolls swarmed. Death threats pinging Joseph's inbox. The store's windows egged anew. Sarah pulled Tommy from visits. For safety, her trust fracturing under the glare. Joseph spiraled, the bottle whispering from its cabinet grave. One rain-lashed night, as thunder rolled like judgment, he confronted Andrew in the half-built cabin. This your dream? Turning our pain into Netflix fodder. Andrew, soaked from a sight check, recoiled. It's our story, Joe. Telling it right? We're freaks now. Tommy's scared to come over. Joseph's voice broke, fists clenched. Maybe Sarah's right. Maybe we ain't fit. The betrayal self-inflicted, born of doubt cut deepest. Andrew's temper flared, years of exile fueling the fire. Fit? After all we've built? You're running again. Like that night with the shotgun. Joseph lunged, not in anger, but desperation. Hands framing Andrew's face, kiss crashing like the storm outside. It was dramatic, fraught, teeth clashing, rain mingling with tears, bodies slamming against unfinished walls. Don't let me, Joseph gasped, stripping wet shirts. Anchor me. They made love there, on the plywood floor, urgency laced with anguish. Joseph's thrusts pleading forgiveness, Andrew's legs wrapping him close, whispers of stay and fight. Climax shattered them open, sobs following release, curled together as lightning forked the sky. Morning brought resolve. They stormed the production meeting via video, Andrew's words a scalpel. Cut the sensationalism, or we're out. This is humanity, not horror. The producer relented. Edits refocused on healing. The letters reveal. The cabin's rise. Love's Quiet Power. The doc premiered at a Des Moines Film Fest that fall. Willow Creek bussing in en masse. Picketers turned attendees. Pastor Wilkins introducing with humbled grace. The screen glowed with their lives. The feud's raw footage from Andrew's old camcorder. Elias's tears over the letter. Joseph's vow under the oak. Q&A swelled emotional. Standing ovations. Hugs from strangers. The team coming out mid-panel. Back home. Catharsis crested. Sarah returned Tommy. Tearful. Saw it. You're good for him, for all of us. The boy tackled Joseph, declaring, Daddy's a star. Winter's hush settled. Christmas lights twinkling on the completed cabin. Cozy with a stone hearth. Bookshelves for Andrew's tomes. A loft for Tommy's sleepovers. Evelyn and Elias moved to a bungalow nearby, their union a beacon. The family gathered for wassail. Stories circling like smoke. Harlan's laugh imagined in the fire's crackle. New Year's dawned clear. Joseph and Andrew on the cabin porch. Mugs steaming. Exposed it all, Joseph mused. Arm around Andrew's waist. No more hiding. Andrew leaned in. Kiss soft. And we survived. Thrived. The ending unfolded humanely, not flawless utopia, but textured grace. Joseph's store boomed. Queer co-op expanding to neighboring states. Andrew's lectures went hybrid. Willow Creek his base. Romance endured. Anniversaries with river picnics. Lazy Sundays Abed. The drama of daily devotion. One spring dawn. 5 years on, Tommy now 13. Lanky and questioning. The family scattered Harlan's ashes by the mill. The river carrying him home. To truths untold no more. Andrew toasted. Glasses clinking. Joseph pulled him close. Whispering. Our story's just startin' to. In the heartland's vast embrace. Love kin, carnal, proved the ultimate revelation. Not a secret to bury, but a light to live by. Flawed, fierce, forever American.